hard to hold this many wheels at once. This is my updated review of the Cuei Killers. Now, I went back and rewatched my old Cuei Killers review, the one from 2 years ago, and I still agree with a lot of the opinions on there. I want to make this update video just because I've had some opportunities to, as you can see, try out different durometers, mess around with rain wheels, and I just think that my more experienced input is going to be pretty valuable. I've tried a lot more products since then. Now, back when I first reviewed these wheels, I reviewed the 75A, and that was actually this set. Since then, I've rain cut that set, and they are remarkable rain wheels. The urethane has really high grip in wet conditions, and the grooves help evacuate that water so you don't get slowed down as much. Maybe I'll make a rain wheel video some other time. I don't do a ton of rain skating, but the Cuei Killer has been the best performing rain wheel out of all of the wheels that I've tried so far in both its rain cut and normal condition. This urethane just seems to really grip the road when it's wet. More recently, I've gotten my hands on the other Duros. This one, thank you so much, Julia, for giving me the green 77A set to try out. Thank you so much, Billy, for giving me the 80A yellow set to try out. Now, these wheels are super interesting because they just take the characteristics of the white killer and modulate them. You can still tell that it's based on the same powerthane formula. This urethane formula is fast, it is grippy, it is aggressive, and you can really feel how the different durometers change that. So moving from the white to the green, you'll notice that the green has a much more defined edge grip. Now that comes for a couple different reasons. For one, it being harder, the surface is not going to deform as much. So instead of kind of smearing out of traction, this one is going to have a much sharper break into a slide than the white one would have. Also, the green one, because it's harder, the lips are going to hold up longer. One of my complaints of the white killers, the 75A ones, and this is a complaint for all soft wheels, my complaint is that the lips wear away so fast. You have these really nice sharp lips that really bite into the pavement when the wheel is new, and they wear away because the urethane is so fast, they just disintegrate, and then you have a really quick drop off in the overall grip of the wheel. The green ones and the yellow ones, the lips hold up a lot better, and you can really see that. Now, I have more time skating the white one anyways, so the white one's going to be worn down a little more no matter what, but you can see pretty clearly how the green one has held up its shape even better, and how the yellow one has held up its shape even better than that. That characteristic carries through to how it rides. The yellow one has a really, really sharp difference between gripping and sliding. That moment that it breaks traction is very distinct, and it really gives you a lot of feedback when you're on the limit. That is one cool thing about the killers that I really appreciate. Magnums can feel a little bit numb sometimes when you're on the limit of traction. They can feel a little bit disconnected from the pavement just because of their softness and their size and their weight. It can be a little hard to tell if you're gripping or you're sliding or if you're in some state in between. One thing that the killers do really well is kind of like a light switch, let you know when they're gripping or when they're sliding. There's not really a smudgy phase in between, and that gets more distinct as you go up in hardness. Now, as far as roll speed goes, a lot of people would expect that the white would be the slowest, yellow would be the fastest, and that the harder you go, the faster the wheel is over a variety of surfaces. Now, I find that roll speed is one of the most difficult things to objectively test. You have to have really controlled conditions, you have to have a really rigorous setup, and I'm not talking like a skate setup, like what your trucks and your wheels and your bearings are. I'm saying like an experimental setup. You have to really be on your game in terms of eliminating things that could mess up your tests. Wind, bearings, temperature, things like that. But I do have some interesting commentary on just basic research that I've done. Online, I've looked up the academic papers describing the relationship between the hardness of urethane, the durometer, and the resilience of the urethane, which is also known as rebound. Resilience is just the engineering term for rebound. As you go harder in durometer, the correlation to rebound goes down. Harder wheels have less rebound. Now, in your mind, that might make sense of like, oh yeah, the harder wheels, less bouncy, I don't know, something like that. But theoretically, these two variables can be completely independent. I mean, have you ever seen the videos of like a steel ball dropped on an anvil and how that rebounds so much? Those are incredibly hard materials, both the worked and hardened surface of the anvil and the ball bearing that's dropped on it. Extremely hard, but because of the bouncing, how that bouncing is sustained over such a long time, we know that those surfaces have really high resilience. So it's a little less intuitive than it might first seem. And this is an interesting thing to consider in downhill wheels. If this has a harder durometer, the graphs that I've seen would suggest that this has a lower rebound than the 75A version. Now, I have no idea of knowing that myself. I don't have the testing equipment to figure this out. But just on feel alone, I would say that the yellow one is not much faster than the white one, and the green one is, I can't tell the difference in speed between any of these. A lot of people will correct me maybe and say, oh, I can totally feel the difference. Yellow, harder wheels totally feel faster. But it's really easy to have the thought in your mind, the kind of skewed perspective of if you're feeling more bumps, more vibrations from the road, your brain translates that to speed, whereas a softer wheel is going to absorb more of that, and your brain isn't going to have all that extra stimuli that is going to translate into, oh, I'm going faster. So even though a harder wheel you might feel faster on, a softer wheel could go the same speed, and your perception of your stimuli, your senses, would just skew it so that it feels like that same exact speed is more intense on a harder wheel. So we've been rambling a lot. These wheels are awesome. I really enjoy the Killers. I think they're really fun to skate. My choice of the three will always be the white ones. I love the softness of the white ones. I love the way they soak up bumps. I love the way that they keep their grip over time. The green and the yellow are really interesting. I would be more inclined to skate the green, but I think that they are just slightly too intense. That kick out between grip and slip is, really sharp, really well defined. And I find myself a little bit averse to that on most pavements. I will say there's a spot that I've been skating for the past several months down in Tennessee where the road is extremely slidey. It has very little feedback. It makes most wheels leave urethane on the ground, and it wears down wheels fast. A lot of wheels just feel completely numb on this style of pavement. The cool thing about the green Killers that the white ones did not do is these actually gave me good feedback and good response between gripping and sliding. I felt like I was able to kind of learn from my mistakes and adjust my race lines a little bit better and more efficiently on these wheels than I was on something like a Magnum. So if you have a road that tends to be super slidey and you're working on a super hot day, then the green Cuei Killers are going to give you the kind of best performance feedback. Maybe not the best overall grip, maybe not the best braking force in the slide. I wasn't super impressed by that on that day, but it definitely gave me the feeling of riding a race wheel on a smooth like clean, grippy road, even though I was on in one of the driftiest roads around. So yeah, I did enjoy this wheel. I do still enjoy skating this wheel, but it's just not as versatile as the White Killer. These keep their grip for a long, long time, whereas these don't. Even with skin, and you know, I skated this used, this previous, it was full skin and lips when I got this wheel, but it had been rolled on, so take that with a grain of salt. The White Killer is the only one that I've skated completely from new, like out of the pack, and I've done that twice now. This is the original set, and this is the updated set, or the newer set that I bought. The yellow one has almost no braking force out of the box. I was a little bit startled. I skated a run with about a dozen hairpins, lots of turning, lots of drifting, and the yellow one, not only did it have not much braking force and not much grip out of the box, but it also lost the little grip and braking force that it had really quickly. And honestly, I don't even think I'm through the skin yet. That's an advantage of having a harder wheel, is the skin is more durable. But the disadvantage is that you're not digging into the pavement like you would on a softer wheel. So I personally cannot think of a use case where I would point somebody to the yellow harder Killer and say, get this one, unless you were specifically looking for a race wheel that had less grip than average, less braking force than average, but still had kind of the intensity that helps you like train your racing lines. Then this would be, I guess, the one to get. But it just does not have the performance where I would race these in any situation, or really choose these over the green or the white ones. Now the green ones, as I already described, they keep their grip decently well. There's less of a like a drop off from when they're fresh, but they still don't have all the grip and all the brakes that I want out of a wheel once it's worn down. You know, a wheel has skin for 10% of its life, right? Maybe 5% if you skate them for a really long time. I'm mostly focused in how a wheel performs once it's fully broken in. And the white one has the most consistent performance from when it's new to when it's broken in. I'm going to draw a little graph to demonstrate this. Okay, so here's our graph to show kind of how the grip falls off in these wheels over time. So for the White Killers, they absolutely have the most grip out of the box. But that grip, once you start to wear it in, drops really quickly and then plateaus. The Green Killers have less grip out of the box, but because the lips and the skin is more durable, it's gonna lose it more slowly and then plateau. And then the Yellow Killers are going to have a really like gradual descent from the box, like the stock. Sorry, I'm trying to think and draw at the same time. Those are going to go all the way down here before they plateau. So if you're using your wheels for one run, you know, if you want to buy a bunch of these wheels for racing and you plan on only using a set for 1 or 2 runs before you put on a fresh set, you get the white ones. Because this small window of time that you're using them, they're having the most grip. If you want the wheel's grip to last a little bit longer and have a more, you know, kind of moderate average feeling over the course of the beginning of the wheel's life, probably get the green ones. These would be more likely to last you for the duration of a race, with a little bit more consistency, although you're not going to have as much grip out of the box. Green, like your race lines would be similar for a long time before you had to make any drastic changes. White, you would skate them for a little bit and then drastically have to change your race lines as your grip dropped down here. End of the day, the white one has the most grip once it's worn in completely. but it gets to that line really fast. Now the yellow one just slowly loses its grip until it goes all the way down here and plateaus. Personally, I think it's just not enough grip for competitive racing. I guess it would mean that your wheel stays consistent for a long time, so that heat after heat, you wouldn't have to change your racing line very much. But even still, I just don't think that's very much worth it, because there's only, this is not a scientific graph, but there's only a small period of time where that grip from the yellow ones would be comparable to the grip from the white ones. And that's just for a moment, and then the white is once again clearly advantageous. So Owen really likes the white ones. I don't mind too much that there's a big drop off in performance, because I'm going to use the wheel a lot longer than just, the first couple times I race it. I don't have money to just buy fresh wheels over and over again. And so if this wheel is going to be grippier for the rest of its life, then I want to get that one. So I guess the last thing to say is that in 2023, if you're looking for the top race wheels, you're probably not looking at the Cuei Killers anymore. They had their time and place when they could keep up and still get podiums on the top races around the world. But that day has passed. 74 millimeters isn't really fast enough or grippy enough in order to keep up with big old wheels like Magnums or the new Cuei A1, which I will be dropping a review of probably in the next month. I have some more testing I need to do with that wheel, some testing with bearings and spacers that I want to double check, and some more back-to-back comparisons with similar competitors. So yeah, be on the lookout for that. But I can definitively tell you that if you're looking for a race wheel from Cuei, get the A1. It is an extremely good and noticeable improvement over the Cuei Killers. And you know what? Don't get the 80A. That's just my opinion. I don't think the 80A is much faster. As a urethane, it's not too much faster. And you're sacrificing a lot of grip and a lot of braking force that the 75A formula is just so good at extracting. So yeah, the Cuei Killers are always going to have a place in my heart. I do love riding these wheels. They're agile, they're fast, they're nimble, they change direction really quickly because they're so small. They're really easy to push, and on path races where acceleration and pushing is key to getting an effective start and a quick advantage in a race, Cuei Killers are awesome to reach for. So those of you looking at like Medusa Death Race in Purdue next month, definitely consider the white Cuei Killers. I've skated them there for a couple years now, and they are fire. Yeah, they do a good job at a path race. Highly recommend them for that. Fortunately, can't recommend the yellow or the green, but my riding style might be different than yours. Maybe the yellow and the green perform better for you, and if so, drop that information down in the comments. I love making this a community where we can all share our collective knowledge, whether you agree with me or not. It's okay if you disagree with what I say here, because, I'm just one guy in Ohio doing his best to try out gear and make reviews. So your experience from all over the world is extremely appreciated. And once again, I really thank you for watching through these long videos. If you're looking for other ways to support the channel, check out my Patreon. Over there, I do a ton of content, by the way, and the ability to watch the content is pretty cheap, just $3 a month. A lot of early previews of reviews, like chit chat, recaps from events, things like that. I'm posting content over there weekly, and there's already a big amount of media that you can access right now today if you sign up. And then also, if you give a little bit more than that, I've got some rewards where I give you some custom 3D printed products I designed. I'm having a ton of fun designing things for longboarding, and because I have no plans to sell them in the near future, my patrons have been benefiting, getting all these exclusive products, getting to try them out and give me early feedback on these prototypes, which has been really, really cool and really fun. I love seeing my gear being used by other riders out in the world, so check out the link in the description for that. If not, no worries. I'm always going to post my best content here on YouTube. You're always going to get these reviews that are detailed and in depth for free on YouTube. Once I'm ready to drop it, once I feel like I can give a product a fair shot. And yeah, I thank you all so very much. I appreciate you, and I hope you have a wonderful day.